the silent town. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the desolate landscape. Richard, a weary traveller with a backpack slung over his shoulder, walked along a deserted road that seemed to lead to nowhere. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, and the only sound was the echo of his footsteps against the empty buildings that lined the street. As he rounded a bend, the silhouette of a town emerged on the horizon. Relief washed over him at the sight of civilization, and he quickened his pace toward the eerie settlement. The town, seemingly frozen in time, appeared abandoned, windows shattered, doors ajar, and an air of desolation hung like a heavy fog. A flickering street lamp bathed the main square in a dim, pale light. Richard surveyed his surroundings, his eyes catching on the twisted metal of a rusted playground, its swings swinging gently in the wind, creaking eerily. The only signs of life were the mysterious shadows that flitted in the corners of the buildings. As Richard ventured deeper into the town, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The shadows seemed to dance at the edges of his peripheral vision, vanishing whenever he turned to confront them. Unease settled in the pit of his stomach, but curiosity drove him forward. The first building he approached was an old, decrepit hotel. The windows were smeared with dust, making it impossible to see inside. The door, hanging off its hinges, creaked open as a gust of wind whispered through the empty streets. Richard hesitated for a moment, his hand hovering over the door before pushing it open. The interior was shrouded in darkness, broken only by the dim light filtering through the gaps in the boarded-up windows. He stepped cautiously across the threshold, the floorboards groaning beneath his weight. As his eyes adjusted to the gloom, Richard noticed movement in the shadows. Whispers echoed through the empty halls, elusive figures flitting just out of view. He felt a chill crawl down his spine as he called out into the darkness, "Hello? Is anyone here?" The only response was the haunting echo of his own voice. Richard explored the hotel, his footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Rooms that once held life were now abandoned, their furniture draped in dusty sheets. In the corners, the mysterious shadows lingered, dancing in the periphery of his vision. In a room at the end of a long corridor, Richard discovered an old ledger. Its pages, yellowed with age, contained entries that hinted at a once thriving community. Names and dates chronicled the comings and goings of guests, but the entries abruptly ceased several years ago. As he continued his exploration, Richard noticed a pattern in the entries. The mysterious shadows seemed to coincide with the last recorded visits. He couldn't shake the feeling that the ethereal figures held the key to the town's abandonment. The sun had long set, and the moon cast an ethereal glow over the town as Richard emerged from the hotel. The shadows, now more pronounced in the absence of daylight, continued to tease the edges of his vision. Determined to uncover the truth, he followed the elusive figures as they darted through the empty streets. The winding path led Richard to the town's old library. Its grand entrance, adorned with intricate carvings, stood as a testament to a bygone era. The heavy wooden door groaned as he pushed it open, revealing a cavernous interior filled with rows of dusty books. The shadows, now more numerous and defined, congregated in the corners of the library. As Richard approached, they seemed to coalesce, forming indistinct shapes that whispered fragments of forgotten tales. He caught glimpses of figures, an old librarian, a group of children huddled with books, and a man engrossed in research. The spectral figures paid him no mind, their translucent forms absorbed in their own ghostly activities. Richard, both fascinated and unnerved, reached for a book on a nearby shelf. As he flipped through the pages, he uncovered the history of the town, a tale of prosperity, community, and a mysterious event that led to its downfall. The entries chronicled the arrival of a mysterious traveller, much like Richard himself. The traveller, described as a wanderer with an otherworldly presence, had come to the town bearing a relic, a peculiar artifact that emitted an ethereal energy. The townsfolk, entranced by the traveller's tales, gathered in the main square to witness the artifact's power. As the relic was unveiled, a dark energy surged through the town, casting long shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. The shadows, once benign, began to manifest in eerie forms, lingering in the corners of buildings. Whispers spread through the community, and fear took hold as the shadows grew more ominous. The entries described a town gripped by paranoia and desperation. Residents barricaded themselves in their homes, avoiding the streets where the shadows lurked. The once thriving community became a ghost town, its inhabitants succumbing to a silent terror that originated from the mysterious artifact. Richard's heart raced as he read the accounts of the townsfolk's encounters with the shadows. The figures he had seen, the librarian, the children, the man engrossed in research, were the residual echoes of the townspeople, forever trapped in a spectral loop. Driven by a mix of fascination and dread, Richard searched for information about the artifact. His hands trembled as he turned the pages, discovering that the traveler had left the relic behind, sealed in a hidden chamber beneath the library. The artifact, a small, unassuming box, was said to be the source of the town's curse. With newfound determination, Richard followed the ghostly figures to a hidden trapdoor beneath a worn-out rug. He pulled the door open, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into darkness. The whispers of the shadows seemed to grow louder as he ventured into the subterranean chamber. The air in the hidden chamber was heavy with an otherworldly energy. The artifact, nestled in the center of an ancient pedestal, emitted a faint glow. Richard approached cautiously, his senses on high alert. The shadows, now more pronounced than ever, writhed around the artifact as if guarding a forbidden secret. As he reached for the relic, the shadows recoiled, their movements synchronized in an ethereal dance. Whispers enveloped the chamber, telling a tale of a town ensnared by the malevolent force contained within the artifact. With a surge of determination, Richard touched the artifact. The room quivered with energy, and the shadows, released from their spectral prison, swirled around him. The whispers grew louder, revealing the true nature of the curse. The shadows were fragments of lost souls, tethered to the artifact by a dark magic that sought to trap the living in an eternal loop of despair. The ghostly figures, now freed from their spectral existence, began to dissipate into the ether. The oppressive energy that had clung to the town lifted, and the shadows vanished, leaving the chamber bathed in a serene stillness. Richard, having unraveled the mysteries that bound the town to its haunted past, emerged from the hidden chamber. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a gentle light over the now silent streets. The whispers had ceased and the shadows were gone, their haunting dance replaced by an eerie calm. As he stepped back into the main square, Richard sensed a profound shift in the atmosphere. The once deserted town seemed to breathe with newfound life. The buildings, once echoes of a forgotten era, stood as silent witnesses to the unraveling of a curse that had plagued the community for far too long. The following morning, the sun rose over a town reborn. Richard, his weary eyes reflecting the weight of the unearthly journey, walked through the streets that had once echoed with the haunting whispers of the shadows. The windows, once shattered, now reflected the light of a new day. Word of the traveler who had lifted the curse spread through the town, and the community, though diminished by time, began to stir. Residents who had long been bound by the shadows emerged from their homes, their faces etched with a mixture of gratitude and relief. In the heart of the town, Richard stood in the main square, the once eerie playground now bathed in the warmth of the morning sun. The relics of the past had become artifacts of a bygone era, and the shadows that had haunted the streets were nothing more than fading memories. As he prepared to leave the town behind, Richard felt a sense of accomplishment and closure. The journey, though shrouded in mystery and the supernatural, had revealed the resilience of the human spirit. The haunting shadows, once an insurmountable curse, had been untangled by the threads of a traveler's determination. As he walked away from the rejuvenated town, Richard couldn't help but glance back one last time. The buildings, now free from the oppressive energy, stood as silent sentinels guarding the secrets of a turbulent past. The shadows were gone, and the once deserted town whispered a silent thank you to the traveler who had unraveled the mysteries that bound it to the realm of the supernatural.